forgetting my Diet Dr. Pepper downstairs.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, yeah. Or, sorry, Zero Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper Zero.
Yeah.
Do you know why they went with Zero? Do you understand the marketing thing behind Zero?
You mean in Coke in general or Dr. Pepper?
Coke in general.
Why?
Because Diet sounded like it was for fags.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I'm assuming they said feminine or something like that.
They were just, men didn't like the word diet.
Right.
And obviously they don't want to cut off 50% of their market base, so they changed it to Zero. Where that became, do you remember Dr. Pepper 10?
No.
So Dr. Pepper 10, maybe, see if you can pull up a commercial for Dr. Pepper 10, if that's possible, while I talk about this for a second. It was my least favorite marketing campaign of all time because it was very talk downy to men. It was like because the whole thing was men, they were like, we have the best 10 calories. They decided that men would be comfortable if something had 10 calories. And they were like, we found the best 10 calories to have in the entire thing. And so the ads were all very like explosions and whatever. And then I was very against it. And then I remember I was staying in New York, and there was a CVS across the street from me, and it was on sale for like 50 cents cheaper than regular Dr. Pepper. So I had it. I don't know what 10 calories they put in that fucking thing. Fantastic. They ought to bring Dr. Pepper 10 back.
Oh, really?
The marketing was horrible. I hated it off the marketing. The second it touched my lips, I would have been a lifelong customer.
Interesting.
They could have literally had an ad that was like, men are retarded. Here's Dr. Pepper 10. And I would have been like, yeah, whatever.
Was it very Spike? Well, we're going to watch it, but I'm assuming Spike TV-ish.
Yeah, well, let's hit it. Yeah, it's a little like 1,000 Ways to Die. Mansersy.
Enjoying the film? Of course not. Because this is our movie! Dr. Pepper 10 is our soda. It's only 10 manly calories, but with all 23 flavors of Dr. Pepper. It's what guys want, like this.
It's very cool. Oh.
Yeah, so you get the general tenor.
And I remember the line catchphrase.
Yeah, so they were very much trying to, like, ironically sell to men at a time where pretty much every activity that men enjoyed doing was being maligned by culture. The only safe place we had in 2013 was Dr. Pepper 10. Not Mad Max Fury Road, not a sporting event. It was Dr. Pepper 10, the only safe haven for men. But anyways, that's not what's important. I'm sorry that your Dr. Pepper's downstairs. But it's all good. It's the way you look at it. Anyways, that's I almost feel like we should tag that on to the last episode about marketing. But
I know, it was so apropos to the last episode.
Yeah, it was the California raisins of the new millennium, quite honestly, Dr. Pepper 10. I don't know where it went.
Maybe we're doing a thing like, you ever old shows back in the day where they would like try to get you to watch the next episode by having some vague connection to the next episode, but then it would get resolved in the first 5 minutes of the next episode, and then they would go on to a new story.
I like that. I also like to believe that there's a level of stream of consciousness going on between episodes in a Mr. Show, Tim and Eric style fashion. Where like, yeah, it's like it's one long run-on thought is what we're really having. But that's not what today's episode is necessarily about. Listen, I have spent the last upwards of 20 years being both a comedian, but also a event promoter, we'll say. Maybe one of the world's worst. However, it has led me to a lot of background information, and I've always prided myself on being very independent. I have never received $1 in grant money. I've never received $1 in sponsorship money. I have never been owned in any way whatsoever. I probably haven't even gone through the necessary legal channels for the business I was doing. Literally, I will have theater shows that the money is deposited into my personal bank account. Like, I don't even have a business account for the shit. And I have put upwards of $5 million or more into the comedy ecosystem in my time graciously spent in our fine business. I know where a lot of the skeletons are buried. Honestly, the idea that I'm even doing a podcast probably frightens like some people I know, because if I decided to like turn evil, I could probably do a lot of damage to people. But I would like to at least give this podcast a chance to be successful before I turn evil. And just, if we need the numbers later, then I'll tell you everything that Big J's ever done. But for the time being, we're going to focus on bringing down the actual evils in comedy. A sort of, if Red Bar is the Wicked Witch of the West, I'm sort of the Glenda, the Good Witch, or whatever, of the situation. And I think now is the time to talk about, here, hold on, I'll see if everyone can pick up a clue on the dynamic pricing. Pay your service fees. Fuck Live Nation. We went to court in 1994. I probably got to stop playing that, or not only will I get sued by Live Nation, but Pearl Jam. Anyways, this episode is going to be a deep dive on everything I can tell you about the Live Nation Ticketmaster monopoly. Obviously, there are other videos you can go watch on this subject that are going to be a lot more in-depth on the actual business, monopolistic tactics, whatever. They can dig down in a lot more numbers and nerdy horseshit than I can. What I can tell you is where the dirt lies, what companies were destroyed by them, and maybe I'll share a couple of personal anecdotes that, I'll be honest with you, probably leave me open to a little bit of legal liability. But sue me, Ticketmaster, sue me, Live Nation. Suck my dick. Like, I don't care. What are you going to do? You're not going to open it up. I'm looking at you right now. You're not going to open it up, what you did to me, because you did it to me. So you're going to just let it die. You're going to go, hey, this guy gets less than fucking 1,000 views. This is really not that important. And hope that this does nothing. That's what you're going to do. You're going to ignore this, and most likely none of you will ever see it. But more importantly, you're not going to do anything legally. I can say whatever I want about this situation, have complete freedom to blab my mouth, because ultimately you did what you did. We'll get to that at the end. And I've got a great number breakdown on exactly all of it. I mean, I'm not just a comedian. Let me explain for people who don't know me that well, a little clear of what I've done for a year. I ran a festival. It's called the Dark Comedy Festival. Initially, it was an annual thing. The focus was, let me step back even further. When I got into comedy in Canada, in Toronto, there was really a very large gap in the marketplace between a touring comedian at a very low level and then large theater acts. There was a big middle ground that really didn't have a place to go in Canada. Yucks didn't bring you in unless either you were what they deemed artistically important, but artistically important also came with a very low price tag. The Doug Stanhopes, the Rick Shapiros, people that would work for less money, but Mark found to have value. Past that, there really wasn't a space. I was the first person to bring Maria Bamford here. I was the first person to bring Brian Posehn here outside of Just for Laughs road shows of multiple people. I was the first person to bring Hardwick, and I don't know, like we could probably do Doug Benson for the first time back to Canada after he had his little thing in Edmonton where he said we didn't have an army and then whatever, and there was a big gap, and I was able to really fill that gap for a period of time. Now, I would do that with general names like you were saying, but I also did Dark Comedy Festival, which was a focused on the niche of dark comedy. With that, I brought Jim Jeffries, I believe, for the first time he ever performed in Toronto. Big J, besides I think he maybe did a Nubian show, was also at that first one. I brought Jim Norton, I brought David Tell and Eddie Pepitone and Bobby Kelly and whatever. Later on down the line, when it was reincarnated Shane Gillis and Tim Dillon and lots of Andrew Schultz along the way and Bert Kreischer's, and I made a deal with Just for Laughs. At one point, they had to buy me out of some things for Tom Segura and Brendan Walsh. I know a lot of Ari Shafir's in there. I've worked with everybody. And so now, is this some sort of expose on them? No, because for the most part, my experience with large comedians in the comedy business has been some of them are like mildly unpleasant. You know, Norton likes to just do the show and then go get a hooker. You know, sometimes it's not that fun. Sometimes, like Big J becomes one of your good friends in life. Like there's a wide spectrum, but for the most part, no comedian has ever fucked around and done anything with whatever. It has been the business at large around them. Okay. Preamble aside. So, let's dig in on it. Now, what is your understanding of Live Nation and Ticketmaster, Sanker?
I watched a video on it, so it's better than literally an hour ago.
Perfect.
They were separate. Live Nation controlled venues. Ticketmaster was an online universal platform to sell tickets.
Yes.
Live Nation goes, hey, I think in 2016. 2010, perfect. I watched the video closely.
That's all right.
They go, oh, we want to buy Ticketmaster so that we can sell tickets and sell venue spots. And the United States government said, I don't know. Well, let's put on some clauses that we'll never police ever. So they put on something like, I think it was the Obama administration at the time.
That's what got. That's who approved things. Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
They said you cannot be found to ever be pressuring like artists or whatever to use your thing, or start pressuring other venues if they don't use your service or something like that. I don't know.
Sure.
You'll probably explain that part better. And then they did it anyway. And then it wasn't until like 2019 that they started getting in trouble for it, I think.
Yeah, that's okay. Sure, that's roughly around. I'm trying to also decide where I want to start here based on your whatever. So let's dig into the DOJ and what's happening since 2019. Things started shaking up, but 2024 is when the DOJ actually came after them for monopolistic reasons. So let me walk you through quickly what you can now do with Ticketmaster. Hold on, we're going to do a little chat break. Chat, tell me about Ticketmaster's emerging artist program again, how they will handle the 360 aspect of your tour. Well, let that do its thing. So 2010, they merge. So Ticketmaster is already the ubiquitous name of tickets at the point. They had bought Ticketron already, which was their main competition. They absorbed many smaller ticketing companies. I remember I used to use TicketWeb back in the day. I remember what attracted me to TicketWeb was that it was Ticketmaster. Because in the Wild West, I toured with Doug Stanhope very early in my career. And Doug would use brown paper tickets because brown paper tickets charged a $1.50 service fee, nothing else on top of it, and it kept Doug's prices low for his fans. I always appreciated brown paper tickets. I think they deserve a shout out in all of this in the end. And honestly, when you deal with boutique, is that Eddie Guerrero?
Yes, and that's our shout out to brown paper tickets.
Yeah. Brown people tickets. So I always appreciate them. They would pay for Doug's car wash party just for laughs, because that's what dealing with a boutique ticket agency will do. They didn't turn around and charge him for the party after he had it. They went, we appreciate the level of business that you bring to us and the attention that you bring to us. And they threw a lovely little car wash party for us, which was very cool. So the DOJ is, in fact, coming up. What they want to do is they want to break up Ticketmaster and Live Nation again. What they want to undo what the merger in 2010 did. Here's the problem with that, right? Is that ultimately what's going to be the difference? The money is just going to shift around. So right now, let me explain exactly how this business model works for everybody. Live Nation is the promoter / a lot of times owner of the venue. We're going to get into that. Now, sometimes they don't own the venue, and that's actually better for them in a lot of ways. There's like levels to this, right? So they'll only come in and buy a venue in a situation that they actually think that they can like leverage up the venue. So very recently, and we'll see if there's anything in the news about this in the next little while, but Velvet Underground here in Toronto, just down the street, a few years ago was bought by Live Nation as an entity. So there was another place for them to put smaller scale concerts. It's about a 500 seater, right? So we're not just talking about the 1,000 seaters, the stadiums, the whatever. They're getting into the business of 500 seaters. They've also bought the Opera House on the east end of town, which is a 700 seater in Toronto. Fact of the matter is, if you want to perform in any venue in this city that is over 600 seats, you will be dealing with one of the major ticket brokers. Now, we don't have a lot of AEG presence in Toronto. AEG is the main competition for Live Nation in most of America. They own things like the Hollywood Bowl and a couple of other ones. Now, guess what you have to use if you're going to play the Hollywood Bowl? Isn't it surprising that you're going to have to use AEG? It's the same level of monopolistic tactics, but they're the Pepsi AEG to Live Nation's Coke. So you want to? So Sanker, you're a successful comedian. You can sell about let's say 1,500 tickets in a market, but you would like to avoid playing something that Ticketmaster is going to charge $15 a head in service fees, which is basically the minimum they're going to charge on a Ticketmaster ticket. You want to avoid that $15. Where in Toronto can you play?
I mean, I guess, yeah. Large theater or theater. Well, based off what you told me, is it Danforth Music Hall they could do?
Danforth is Ticketmaster.
Ticketmaster, damn it.
Opera House is Ticketmaster. They're now closed because they were done with it. Velvet Underground's Ticketmaster.
Did you say Randolph Theater?
The Randolph Performing Arts Theater not held. That's a 400-seater, so you could play like 6 shows at the Randolph if you liked.
Okay, so not owned, but smaller, so...
Not owned by Live Nation, not ticketed. That's about a 400-seat venue, and you can... So at 400 seats, you're okay. If you want to play any more, there is the Concert Hall at Davenport and Yonge, which I believe is seated 600. And there's the Queen Elizabeth Theater, which is about 1,200, 1,150, around the same size as Danforth, but owned by Admit One. You have to do the tickets through Admit One. You're going to pay their service fees. If you're an independent artist that wants to sell their tickets through a reasonable priced service with reasonable service fees with your own choice in ticket broker, you can only play the Concert Hall at 600 seats. It's the largest venue you can play. 1,200 standing. That's it.
Yeah.
You're completely squeezed out of the market. So I want to go to the first person I knew that fought back on this. Can you pull up the Louis C.K. clip?
Sure.
Yeah, so this is Louis C.K. 13 years ago. So about
It's not even any.
around 2011, 2012. This is Louis C.K. talking about Ticketmaster.
The thing I'm obsessing now is keep getting the price down, because also that like Ticketmaster, if I put a ticket on sale for $30, like I could probably get like $50 a ticket in a lot of markets or more. A lot of people, Kathy Griffin charges $50 in some place. Like I always look at those things and try to stay under her. Like I try to stay under tickets of somebody I could probably charge more than. That's my goal. Oh, okay. But here's what happens. First of all, like my ticket's $30. Ticketmaster makes it up to like sometimes $55. Like it's almost twice as much. And then if I drop the tickets too low, they get bought by StubHub in larger bulk because it's a cheaper investment for them. So the fans end up paying more money. And when I buy a Ticketmaster ticket and there's a StubHub ad on the back of it, there's just no way these people aren't fucking helping each other. That like there's got to be some synergy between those.
All right, pause it there. This is where Louis has it wrong for a second. Is there wasn't synergy, which is why Ticketmaster then came out with their own resale market, because then instead of allowing tickets to go to StubHub where they can be resold and that the service fees would be rolled into the ticket price rather than charged on top, you can now buy them on Ticketmaster's resale market, which will charge you the same service fees again for the same ticket they already charged service fees on. So sorry, he missed where they were going to fuck you in the ass an extra time. He didn't have the clarity on that just yet. You can continue with the video again if you like.
The same people are getting the money. So this next time I tour, I'm gonna try not to use ticket services and sell the tickets the same way I'm selling this DVD. Drop the price down to like fucking $20 tickets.
Okay, you can stop it now.
Go to the theater to get the tickets.
So, anyways, if you've ever asked yourself why Louis C.K. got canceled along R. Kelly and Bill Cosby, that's why right there. If we can delve into conspiracy theory for a minute, I remember there was a CNN headline it was about the Me Too movement, and it was Bill Cosby, Louis C.K., R. Kelly. And you're like, one of these guys jacked off on the phone, and the other one had women he kidnapped underage and then pissed all over. Mm-hmm. It's, you know what I mean? And my full belief is, I've heard Sam Tripoli say before that he believes that only CAA can really cancel people, that all the cancellations are secretly creative artist agency. I don't believe that at all. I don't think it tracks when you look it through. I think the only thing that ultimately can cancel you as an artist is Ticketmaster. My proof of that is, I don't know how many people think Chris D'Elia is canceled, right? Like, the idea is, like, there's been a documentary on him being a pedophile sex cult guy at this point. Like, I don't know how much more you kind of need for a canceling nowadays, right? We all believe that all these things happen. But you go to Ticketmaster and you look up Chris D'Elia, they'll still work with Chris D'Elia. So are you truly canceled when Ticketmaster will still work with you? Unless Ticketmaster drops you, that's kind of it. Ticketmaster holds the entire keys to what an actual cancellation is. Because if you get canceled with Ticketmaster, you're out. You're out. That's it. If Ticketmaster doesn't want to work with Kanye West when Kanye decides to tour again finally, right? What's Kanye going to do? Is he going to go do... He's going to go to do 45 shows in a row at the fucking concert hall? Like, what is he going to do? There's no options. And, like, when you talk about, listen, I don't know who owns Ticketmaster, but when he wants to blame all the Jews, maybe it's one of them. I don't know. Because, like, I get what he means. I'm not putting it on a particular people, but you can't talk shit about them. Like, this is a dangerous thing to say. If I'm successful in 10 years and I'm at a point where I want to play these theaters, this can hurt me. Like, this can actually hurt you. If Ticketmaster doesn't want to use you right now, you're kind of fucked. And look what they did to Louis. And the effort that Louis had to go through to even do that. If you remember what Louis was doing was selling tickets on his website for $40. And it was a first come, first serve. He put them up. You could buy them, and that was that. There was no add-ons. There was no service fees. There was nothing. And he had a thing built in, he claimed, and I think he later kind of revealed that he didn't really maybe necessarily have all the technology to do this. But the idea was if they found out your ticket was scalped, your ticket wasn't going to be good anymore. So it completely reduced the resale market. The fear that your ticket would be worth nothing when you went to go cash it in afterwards was enough to make them not do it anymore. He was the post Pearl Jam standing up to Ticketmaster in 1994, where they went in front of Congress. I mean, Eddie Vedder wasn't there for some reason. I guess there was a wine party, but his guitar player and drummer showed up, and they talked to the Congress because, they saw in 1994 before even Livenation, even the merger, they saw it. It was like, well, what are we supposed to do? They want to hit our fucking fans over the head. Like, if we're going to charge $30, they're going to charge $15 service fees on it. They're still paying $45 fucking dollars. They control the entire marketplace. Let me put this back into real estate for a second. Don't buy a non-freehold building. Don't get a house that's in a fucking condo or a townhouse facility or something that can charge you maintenance fees. Don't do it, because there's an aspect of your business you don't control anymore, and that they can do whatever you look at some of these apartments in the city. There's like $900 maintenance fees on these things for nothing. So even if you wanted to buy the place for whatever $1 million or whatever the fuck the market would be, you're going to go, well, I don't want to pay $900 a month in a fucking rental on top of what I have to pay for the mortgage. And you don't have any control over that. You might have gotten that building was $300. Now it's $900. So don't do it. So now if you're Pearl Jam, to put it back, and you want to go on tour and you want to charge $30 for your tickets, there's nothing to say Ticketmaster can't turn around and charge $30 in service fees. They're going to make all of that off your fucking head. And there's no alternatives. It is a monopoly. Where else are you going to go? If Pearl Jam wants to come here and not use Ticketmaster, they ain't doing Scotia. They ain't doing Rogers. They're not doing the Coca-Cola Coliseum. They're not doing the Danforth Music Hall. They're not doing any of the Mirvish venues. They're not doing the Meridian. They're down to 600 fucking seats for Pearl Jam. Or they can play a park and figure out security themselves. That's it. Those are your only options. It would literally at this point. So, okay, I'm going to get into these numbers. At some point, I'm going to prove to you it would be cheaper for Pearl Jam, and we're going to use Pearl Jam as the basis for all this just because they did fight this. It would literally be cheaper for Pearl Jam to erect a Rogers Stadium level facility themselves for one night than to just go through Live Nation and Ticketmaster at their spot. They could erect a temporary fucking stadium just as cheap as what Live Nation will take from them. Now, that's obviously very silly, and that would never be logistically feasible, but they could tour with it. Find fields. And just have a stadium in a fucking truck that you pop up. And you know why I know this is possible? Because during COVID, I was still trying to get business done. I lived in Chicago, and I was attempting to, when Bert Kreischer started his parking lot tour, I went, oh, sick. Okay, there's a solution for this. So I went to a company that was doing this. And I have so many receipts for all of these things that I will say things just so people know that I'm being very serious. It was the company that helped stage Riot Fest. Then temporarily were staging people at places like SeatGeek Arena and elsewhere in their parking lots. And you can... People who know Riot Fest will know I'm telling the truth in the tie-in of this, because Riot Fest temporarily last year was moving to SeatGeek Arena or Stadium until I went through a fucking hissy fit. So you know what I'm talking about. What they would have charged to erect all of that is so far under the cost. Now, of course, you'd have to add staffing, but we're talking for a 10,000 person outdoor event, $20,000-$30,000 to erect everything is what they were charging. Now, this was during COVID. Maybe I was getting a wicked during COVID deal and all these things. But when I get into the numbers on the next thing and you see what they charged a fucking stand-up comic to use a venue that exists already, you start seeing where it's very obvious. You literally could erect your own venue at a place like Downsview Park and save money from using one that's already being erected by Live Nation. It's crazy.
Wow.
But it's fucking literally true. So, okay. Let me tie in some loose ends, whatever. So, just to be clear on what everything that Live Nation and Ticketmaster does now. So, of course, Ticketmaster is the tickets. On top of the $15 service fee they will charge you on everything that they do, there is also the resale market, like I said. So you would now want to either scalp your tickets for a higher amount or resell them to somebody else. Well, wouldn't you know it, Ticketmaster is going to make their money again on that ticket now. I remember specifically doing this event I will get into later and having the person from Live Nation turn to me and go, we have this new thing called dynamic pricing. And what dynamic pricing is essentially an algorithm that can tell how hot your event is and what the maximum amount of money they might be able to get out of somebody based on that. So that's not even resale. That's not even a scalper. That's not a guy going, I'm going to make a $150 investment on a ticket and hope to pull $400 out of it. That's Ticketmaster going, you know what? This event was more popular than we realized because we're not very good at our jobs. So we're going to go hit you over the head for $400 because it turns out dynamically we could charge you more than that. So that's where you end up with these $1,200. This is not something that the artist is doing to you. Taylor Swift is not going out and charging this much money for her tickets. They're not seeing this. Now, the dynamic pricing, full disclosure, they will see a part of that. The resale, the scalping, the whatever, they don't. And now Ticketmaster has got their hands in that. What Ticketmaster takes off the dynamic pricing, I am not fully familiar with because they robbed me on this particular event. And again, we'll get into that. But, okay, so they made 23 billion as an entity last year, Live Nation, Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster does the ticketing. Live Nation does the event services. What event services mean is they own the venue and they sell you drinks. They might be an usher there to show you where fucking row 16 seat K is. But that's what event services is. So they handle events. They own a venue. They book a show. Ticketmaster sells the tickets. Now, on top of it, Live Nation now has a merch company. The merch company is the depths of dog shit that has never been achieved before in music history. The fucking merch that Live Nation is putting out is so absolute fucking shit. Literally, as an example, I attended a System of a Down Deftones concert this year at Rogers Stadium, the one that I am talking about. There is now a famous t-shirt from that concert in which Live Nation, the fucking event promoters, they promote the event. They book a thing that they think is going to sell tickets and they promote it. Your promoter put a picture of the Deftones on the System of a Down t-shirt and a picture of System of a Down on the Deftones t-shirt. That's the level of care and attention of detail you're getting with Live Nation. And by the way, that would be a sick t-shirt. You know why it's not a sick t-shirt? Because the quality of the t-shirt is such fucking shit that you won't get to wear it and enjoy it. Literally, there'll be a picture of nobody in a year because the screen printing is so awful. It'll have either washed completely off in a year's time or it'll be so wrinkled and fucking shrunken and unwearable. It's just, these are going into the ocean. You're paying for $60 ocean t-shirts. You're going to throw this shirt onto a dolphin is what you're going to do. There's going to be a really cool dolphin in the Pacific Ocean wearing a Deftones t-shirt with fucking Surge on it because it's crap. It's H&M, Old Navy, fucking garbage. You can't even make it fucking comfort colors. I'm nobody, and I am selling better merch than System of a Down and the Deftones or Oasis. They got a whole pop-up shop over here that's supposed to be a studio for black artists, and the black artists of the week was Oasis, and they sold shit. People lined up for 12 fucking hours to be robbed by Live Nation. To be robbed by Live Nation. To go, oh, this is exclusive. You can only get it in this one place. Oh, you can go get your merch before even the concerts. You don't have to hold it. Well, you could think you don't have to hold it because if you would have held it through the entire concert, the moisture in your hand would have disintegrated the fucking t-shirt in half. It's shit. They're selling you shit. Bands, if anyone fucking sees this, if this could get shared around anywhere, do not use the merch services at Live Nation. You're fucking robbing your fans. It's trash. Anyways, you like Liquid Death? You familiar with Liquid Death?
The drink?
The canned water product?
I haven't tried it. I just see it on podcasts a lot.
Well, guess where else you see it?
Does it taste like water?
It in a can.
Oh.
Which is the worst way I could possibly imagine consuming water. However, it's also bought into by Live Nation. So wouldn't you know it, what's the exclusive water brand at any Live Nation venue? Well, wouldn't you know it? It's Liquid Death. I'd love a $9.50 water. Thank you. As long as it's in a can. Can you give me the water in a can so that it tips over whenever I do something fun? I hate the ability to reseal my water. I'd like it if my water shook all over the fucking place and every fucking drop of it was $1.50. Anyways. So the whole point is that Live Nation is the fake loss leader for the entire thing. And let me explain how this squeezes out people like me. Now, this isn't a woe is me thing. I'm a fucking comedian and I'd love to stop bringing in other people to supplement my career. I don't need to do this for the rest of my life. But there are people who got into this business with a passion to just promote events, that their whole livelihood was they were going to promote events. And let me tell you what happens to them. So I was part of pushing a change probably in the mid 2010s, inspired by Ari Shaffir. I will give Ari Shaffir total credit for the idea of this movement, which was that artists deserve 80% of the door. If you're putting on a show, you should be giving the artist roughly about 80% of the door, depending on the amount of work you're doing to get those people into the door. If it's a smaller name and a lot of the people coming are your hustle, okay. But if you can basically put a show on sale and it sells, you should give that person 80% of everything after your expenses. That was something that I built in. What the freedom for event promoters that allowed was that we could then, somebody like me with less money, right? Where now let's move off of Ari Shaffir and go back to Pearl Jam. Now I could not personally offer Pearl Jam enough money and a guarantee to get them to show up and play an arena. But what you could do is say, I'll guarantee you this much money, but I'll also then do it versus, let's say, 80% of the door to get back to 80%. This allowed me to now enter the marketplace because I didn't have to come with this massive guarantee that I didn't really have to now enter the pool. And now this was a nice thing. I thought this really leveled things out for promoters. It put me in a territory of some of the richer groups that I couldn't compete with, because ultimately, if I was paying you $30,000, it was because you made $34,000, whatever the fuck it works out to be. But this is where Live Nation and Ticketmaster exploited that problem. So for me, I'm just a humble servant bringing in a comedian and paying them 80% of the door. I don't own the venue. I rent from the venue. I have to do whatever liability insurance and security and whatever shit comes with that. I got to pay them their full nut, whatever that happens to be, which, by the way, Live Nation has pushed further and further up across the board, because the more that Live Nation charges, the more that the rest of the market could charge. There are 400-seat fucking former theater, like rep movie theaters in this town that I used to pay $1,800 and get to put my own bar into that are now $6,000 because, well, Live Nation's charging it. Why won't they? Right? So, anyways, I have to go pay for that venue. I have to do all these things. And at the end of the day, after I take on maybe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in risk, I might make $4,000 to $5,000 back after all is said and done, right? If it's a pure 20%, which it almost never is, hey, a big successful event, maybe I make $20,000. I would have had to pay out $100,000. Keep that in mind. Whoever the artist was made $100,000 for me to make $20,000. But that's fine. That's the way it should be, because I'm not that successful artist. The problem became when you own the venue, when you're getting the alcohol sales, and we'll get into the even dirtier things, right? If I am a promoter and I bring you to a Live Nation venue, or just a large venue, if I bring you to 1,000-seater and you want dinner, I go buy you dinner, right? That comes out of me. If you want a bottle of wine in your green room, that comes out of me. If you want X, Y, and Z, if you like first class, if you like whatever, those things eat away at my bottom line. With Live Nation, they'll just charge you for everything. They'll offer you whatever you want. You can have the goddamn world. They'll drive you in limousine. They'll fly you first class. You can have a fucking lobster dinner waiting for you in your room. But guess what? They're charging you for all of that. And they don't even have to ask. They don't even have to explain, because they're the one who cuts you the check at the end of the weekend. So what this did was, now where I have to ask for 20% of the door because that's all I'm living off of, well, why wouldn't Live Nation just go, well, same artist, we'll give you 90% of the door? Because they've already admitted Live Nation, the event promoter aspect of the entire thing, is the smallest margin, which is the trick. That's the trick. By the way, not a small margin. A perfectly fine business that many of us take part in. Many of us, 1% of Taylor Swift is a pretty good business. That's sort of whining about a fucking pot of gold. However, that is the part where now they don't want us to touch Taylor Swift. They'll offer more and more percentages of the door because they don't care. Because Taylor Swift's going to put 300,000 people into the Rogers Center over the course of 2 weekends, and they're going to make every ticket fee. They're going to make every drink sold. They're going to make a cut of all of the merch. They're going to every fan experience, every fucking box of popcorn, every hot dog sold, they're going to make something off of. So they can squeeze every other promoter out of the business because we can't afford to do that. We don't own the place, right? Now, what a lot of this will sound like is they've done smart business integrating things on many levels, right? And it sounds, and what they pitch to you is that they've done a really good thing for the artist, that now this is a very turnkey operation and that everything is set up for you. And well, why wouldn't you want to work with the promoter that owns a venue, right? You have to go rent the venue. Well, wouldn't you happen to know it? Live Nation also charges the fucking person for renting the venue in the first place anyways. A venue they already own, a venue they're already making drink sales on, a venue they have to keep filled because they've paid for. An empty night does no good for them, but will they give you a deal on the rental? No, they're going to charge you the full nut for your rental. So I don't know how long we've done. I don't want to go too crazy on this, but
You've been 40 minutes or something.
Perfect. That's exactly where I'd like to be. So let me explain why Just for Laughs went bankrupt and why Live Nation is responsible.
I love it. I've always wondered.
So here's the whole thing with it. People have to understand how Just for Laughs worked on a much larger degree, especially we're going to talk about the Montreal festivals. The offshoot festivals had their own sort of later game planning and pricing. This is specifically about the Montreal Festival. So if you're familiar with the Montreal Festival, there was a large tentpole events that would take place and in much smaller events. You've heard a lot of people complain about things like New Faces, how they were kind of run shabbily. Well, these were the loss columns, right? Nobody, any comic complaining that they did New Faces and didn't get paid, they were losing money on you anyways. I mean, it doesn't mean that they couldn't have tossed you a little bit of something, but ultimately, it's not like people were showing up to Just for Laughs to go watch New Faces. The majority of the business was done through Live Nation for things at like the Bell Center with like Kevin Hart and Russell Peters. Anybody that could play arenas, large theaters, your club sodas, your metropolises, your theaters and arenas. So Live Nation would, and Ticketmaster, of course, had the exclusive rights to ticket those things. They're making a regular nut off of Kevin Hart. But when those deals started, they needed Just for Laughs to help them promote. Just for Laughs had email lists. They had, name cachet. They have all the things that you'd assume Just for Laughs has behind them. So Live Nation took all of those things and offered them probably starting out roughly 20 to 15% of the gates on large events like Kevin Hart and Russell Peters. Over the years, Live Nation gained more and more traction with their own mailing lists, right? Well, you use Just for Laughs might have emailed you that Kevin Hart was coming to Montreal this year and that you could buy tickets. But when you bought those tickets, you bought them through Ticketmaster. And guess who now has your email address and can let you know the next time Kevin Hart's coming to town? They don't really need Just for Laughs anymore. So Just for Laughs was squeezed into a smaller and smaller and smaller percentage. They went from 20 to 15 to what I heard at the end was down to like 2% of a Kevin Hart show, a Russell Peters show for promoting. What those shows did was pay for your New Faces, for your keynote addresses and your fucking free little parties and all your industry bullshit that you all thought on the way up was actually the business and that they were running a comedy fest. They weren't running a comedy festival. They were running Kevin Hart and Russell Peters, and the rest of you were living off of them. But as that living got smaller and smaller, it pushed Just for Laughs into a position where, now listen, they could have, let's not cry tears for Just for Laughs. They could have, one, that fella could have not raped the ladies or whatever. Two, they could have just shrunk it. It didn't need to be this giant industry hand job party. Things like Skankfest have proven that you can run festivals like that on a budget that makes sense and make them perfectly fine. But ultimately, the death of Just for Laughs came from Live Nation. So, and if anybody would like more proof, like, just dig in. I mean, a company doesn't go bankrupt for $5 million if they have like a really good thing in place. And the reason Just for Laughs can come back is because they have TV deals and they're fine. And they've splintered things off and whatever. We can do another episode on that if you want. What accelerated this problem is, of course, COVID. You've got all of these small places wiped out temporarily. How many of them die and don't come back? Now you have Live Nation able to go up, gobble up opera houses and Velvet Undergrounds that are struggling, that just ate shit for 2 years, especially in a country like Canada. And now they can own even more of the smaller venues. They monopolized even further on top of it. And when you know it, their pull at the government got them open a little sooner. Hell yeah. Can you open that window for a second? I want to hear this guy.
Outside.
I bet you that guy is screaming about Live Nation prices right now. Anyways, you might not hear them. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Is he going to stop screaming now? Is he going to be the Michigan J Frog? Well, he passed away. Anyways, let me finish off with a little anecdote because I feel like this is the part that, one, could get me in legal trouble, and two, I think will best illustrate the thing. First, let me just say my first experience ever working with Live Nation was when I was tapped to do the Oddball Fest in 2000. Now he's back. 17, I believe. Some 18, some shit. I don't know. No, I guess I lived in Canada. So maybe it was 2015, 2016. Whatever it was. Oddball Fest was a really stupid fucking idea that should have never existed, where it was like a Lollapalooza for comedy. Like, I was on at like... I headlined the side stage at like 5 p.m. and Amy Schumer waddled on the stage at like 11. It was fucking crazy. It was actually Amy Schumer, then Aziz Ansari, and you could tell how many women had no interest in watching Aziz Ansari by like the 5,000 people that got up and left. But I performed on the side stage, and all the comedians on the side stage, when they were done, Live Nation told us we were supposed to go sit in the crowd after for the next 3 hours and watch comedy, watch Nick Kroll or something. Yeah, they literally wanted me to watch Nick Kroll. That's how offensive it was. Luckily, I knew Big J, and Big J was hosting, and so he brought me backstage. And I will say, Amy Schumer, as many things as people will say about you, and as much as you love Israel for, like, I don't know, whatever reason you love dead Gazan kids so much, but
She's Jewish, I assume.
I got it, but like, you know what I mean? You could chill a little bit. She's damn near Michael Rappaport levels, which, by the way, I want to soften my stance on Michael Rappaport slightly for a second. Watching his social media to this point, I think it's become very clear Michael Rappaport doesn't run his social media or approve it in any way, because there's no way he wants to post about Israel this much. Like, whoever Michael Rappaport's social media team is, you're ruining this man's career in life, and you need to stop. If he's aware, then how dare him too. But if you're just doing this without his consent or permission, I mean, you're going to get this man hurt. Anyways, back to Live Nation. So, Oddball, they want me to sit in the crowd. Amy Schumer found out, I will say, not happy about it. So, she's been a nice lady, as far as I can tell. So let's finish off on the big one. So, okay, let me get the timelines correct on all of this. Mark Normand was booked for my festival the weekend, I guess, somewhat coming out of COVID. There was I had a festival. COVID was kind of supposed to be done. We did a festival with Lewis and some people, and Luis Gomez, and I think Ryan Long, maybe. And Mark Normand was supposed to have 4 shows at a theater. The government closed the country back down. Remember how Canada would like reopen and close again? Mm-hmm. So my Mark Norman dates got, and by the way, just right off the rip, because I feel like if he heard this, he'd be nervous that I'm saying his name a lot. Mark Norman did nothing wrong in the story whatsoever. This is just literally who the person is about, and for the sake of like transparency in the whole thing, I would like to be very clear what this was about. So shows got got canceled. I was owed to reschedule contractually. They initially were honoring that contract. Now, over the time during COVID, Mark was one of the comics that grew quite a bit. And it was, we figured out basically at that point, Mark could do a much larger place than we had him originally booked. So they wanted to move the show to the Danforth Music Hall. So the Danforth Music Hall, of course, again, a Livenation house. My original deal with Mark was whatever the fuck the guarantee was versus 80% of the door. So, again, I would be getting 20% of the door after all the expenses and blah, 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 whatever. Initially, before the shows were canceled, Mark had sold all of them out. Seemed like a pretty logical play to move up to one venue that could hold as many people as we had sold in four. Are they catching that guy now outside? Anyways. So
let's hope not.
They Danforth Music Hall, Live Nation, signed a new contract with me and UTA, United Talent Agency, fuck them too, in all of this, that I was going to get 15%, right? So 85-15 split. I figured, with all the extra marketing and whatever from Ticketmaster, it's worth losing 5%. You know what I mean? We're going to sell way more tickets. I'd rather 15% of way more tickets than whatever. So I sign it. All good. No problem. We're going to do Danforth Music Hall. Mm-hmm. Show gets put on sale. Wouldn't you know it? Mark's blown up enough. Now there's a second show on sale. So that show sells out. Just to get ahead of all of it, a third show is put on sale for a month in advance. Back by popular demand, one extra night at the Danforth Music Hall. All in all, 3,450 tickets are sold to Mark Norman. Congratulations, Mark. But let's get into it. So I signed his contract for 15% of the door. What that would have averaged out to be, let's go. We're gonna work with an average ticket price of $65 for Mark at the time. It's not, it's not perfect math. It doesn't factor in dynamic pricing, which got up to $400, like I stated. But at that price, let's go. My 15% on those three shows should have been roughly $33,000, $637.50. So that's what I should have been owed for the three shows. What ultimately Live Nation and Ticketmaster did to me was offer me a $1,500 check, because what they did was, after I signed the contract with Mark, a contract that, by the way, had the show gone badly, I'm sure would have maintained its legal status and would have been held to. Let's say the $15,000 on that contract that were promised to Mark, and that contract, I will say the guarantee, let's be very clear, Mark made way more than that, but that was the guarantee versus 85% of the door. No problem guaranteeing that $15K. I'm sure it's much more today. However, 85% of the door. So that would have been what it would have been for that. Had it gone badly and we not achieved $15K, do you think that contract would have been honored and I would have owed Mark Norman, or, whatever, the extra $4K he didn't make at the door? Because I bet you I would have. But what they didn't said was re-sign a new contract between UTA, Mark's agency, and Live Nation, Danforth Music Hall. They sent a new contract. They didn't void it. They didn't tell me. They didn't do anything. They just went, yeah, he signed a contract, but fuck him. We'll sign a new one. Mm-hmm. They cut me out completely and then offered me a $1,500, $500 a show. $500 a show for something that should have been $33,000 I should have made something off of. And again, I would have been risking my own money. It's not like I was just going in here and going, hey, this is this person and this is this person, and I'd like $33,000 for that, right? I understand where my role becomes more minimal once Ticketmaster comes in. But again, if that contract goes belly up, if that contract goes bad, they come knocking to me. They come asking for that money, right? That second signed contract doesn't mean fucking shit then if everything goes bad. They didn't go sign a new contract behind my back until the tickets were already selling, until we already had one done and he was already doing a second one, or he's already coming back by popular demand. That's when he decided to go behind my back and sign a new contract. Now, of course, Rob, you sue them, right? They robbed you. Like, they did something illegal. You have, and by the way, I have it, and I'm not going to go ahead and post a bunch of legal documents off the rip. But again, Live Nation, Ticketmaster, or anyone else, UTA, you can get thrown in the fucking pile too if you'd like. Andrew Skickney, you can all get thrown in the fucking pile. If you'd like to say I'm lying, well, boy, it would be bad if I had receipts, right? I shouldn't even say that. I should Candace Owens you and let you come at me first so I can get the fucking attention. So maybe we'll get a few extra views on this podcast. But anyways, this is the least funny episode ever, but at least maybe my anger will help it a little bit. Sometimes a good passion episode might be just what the doctor ordered. So they re-signed his contract behind me. They offered me $1,500, basically kick me in the ass and tell me to kick rocks. Now, what is anyone in the situation going to do, right? Is Mark Norman a bad guy because he didn't stick up for me? A mild acquaintance he kind of knows? No, Mark Norman's not a bad guy for that. Who's he going to fight? He's going to fight his agent who brings him millions of dollars a year? Who's he going to fight? Live Nation, the guy that avails him the ability to go around and tour everywhere and not have to go find venues in every city. You can basically cut. Of course, you're not going to fight anyone. Who am I going to fight? Do you know what the answer I was left with after they robbed me for what essentially is about $31,000.50 or some shit? They told me, Live Nation told me I could sue UTA. UTA told me I could sue Live Nation. And where does that fucking leave me at that point? What do they really did? That's mob. That's what the mob does. They rob you and go, oh yeah, go talk to Tony. Oh no, yeah, that one was Vito. That's what it was. I got Mobland gang style robbed by Live Nation and Ticketmaster and a little fucking side piece for UTA. And yeah, I'm one guy. I'm just a guy. How many other places are getting this exact same treatment? Pay attention to the small logo on the poster when you go to a Live Nation or Ticketmaster event. Because that small logo, the one you don't recognize, that's the person getting fucked in the ass on that event. That's the person that's going to come away in the same situation as me. A new contract signed. But hey, here's $1,500. Thanks for your time. But boy, if it goes bad, we're going to beat you over the head for $10,000. Now, this message is from Mark. And not just Mark, because I've had this conversation with him. This message at the end is for every artist. And I'm going to use Mark as his example because I was directly tied to the business that was getting done on that direct deal. But let me walk you through some numbers on that particular 3-show events. We sold 1,150 tickets to each event. There's 3 events. That's back to the original $3,450 or 350 people. Now, right off the rip, Ticketmaster is going to take their $15 off of all of that, which again brings us to $51,750. That is just ticket fees off Mark Norman, not the most famous comedian on the planet, not Taylor Swift, not Guns N' Roses, not Fred again, or whatever the fuck that thing is that apparently is popular. None of that. Now, the Danforth Music Hall is about $11,000 to rent last I checked. Probably more now. Now, do you think that... Yeah, listen. If you're Live Nation, if you're Ticketmaster, and you're bringing Mark Norman in, and he's going to sell you almost 4,000 tickets, and you're going to sell the alcohol, and you're going to take a piece of the merch, you go... In your head, you're like, might as well give the guy the venue for free, right? Why not? I mean, give it to him. He's nice enough to come use our venue, sell all these tickets for us, sell all these drinks for us. We might as well just give the guy the venue for free. No. Mark's paying $11,000 a rip for that to a total of, now I don't remember fully if they charged him for the 2 shows in a night. I guarantee you they charged him overages. So we're going to work with $20,000 as a base that Mark would have paid Live Nation. No, excuse me, $22,000 as a base Mark would have paid Live Nation for that show. But let's assume, let's all have a quiet moment and know that it's more like $25,000, $26,000 that Mark would have paid to do those shows and sell those tickets for Live Nation. Don't forget, again, he's already made them $51,750 for just ticket fees for doing the shows, but they would also like him to pay another $25,000 for the privilege of doing it. Now, this, of course, does not factor in dynamic pricing into any of that, which I assume they probably take a lot higher than $15 fee, but we'll leave that to the side right now. Now, the drinks. Drinks are going to, I don't have access to their drink sales, but for a very long time, we have done an industry standard of $11 a head on drink sales. Now, let's all be honest, Ticketmaster, Live Nation, yeah, you're probably making more than $11 a head. Considering you want to buy a fucking beer, it's $20. I'd say the average is probably more than 1 beer a person in the entire place. You could probably escalate this number almost double, but for the sake of the industry standard, $11 a head, they made $37,950 on drinks over the course of those 3 days. Now, let's not forget, this is an 85-15 deal. So Live Nation is also going to make the 15% they stole from me, which is $33,637, bringing them into a grand total of $145,327 to what I'll roughly assume was Mark's $152,000, almost a dollar for dollar figure that Live Nation or Ticketmaster makes off of you. So I want every artist, every band, every comedian, anyone, every fucking sports team to understand that every dollar of revenue that you bring in from Ticketmaster and Live Nation, they are bringing in the same fucking thing. Mark Norman gave Ticketmaster $143,000 to perform 3 shows at an 1,100 seat theater. What is Taylor Swift giving them? What is any band giving them? Extrapolate your favorite band from 3,400 seats to 30,000 seats. You want to 10x out what's going on here? You quickly get into the millions of dollars on every event that Ticketmaster and Live Nation are making. So you're telling me that our artists couldn't turn around and cut their ticket prices in fucking half and make the same thing if we eliminated the middleman of that? Of course we're going to have to pay for venues. Of course someone's going to make the drinks. All of that's supposed to exist. This is how this business should work. I build a venue, I get the drinks. I promote an event, I get 20% of that event. These are the things that were put in place. These should be the industry standards. And one person, one entity is taking every single chunk of the pie. And if artists besides, I don't know, Pearl Jam in 1994 or whoever the fuck James Blake is, who seems to be the only artist pushing back against any of this, all of your artists, all of them. Everyone who you think is a badass. Everyone who you think is a fucking rebel. Everyone who you think has some sort of level of power in this fucking business. Drake pretending he's a Dom or a Don or a whatever. Any of these things. They're bent over a fucking barrel by Live Nation. And every dollar you bring in, they are making one at the same time. And they're doing it at every fucking venue across North America, across Europe. They're doing it literally everywhere. They're destroying the arts. You are a major artist. You get on stage and go town to town making Live Nation money. It's fucking payola. It's Motown Records. And it's at the absolute highest level of the game. Every one of these artists have the ability to take a step back. Every Taylor Swift could make a massive difference towards this. Every Andrew Schultz, because I know you. Every Shane Gillis, because I know you. Every major touring band. every fucking Corn, every Limp Bizkit, every rapper could be doing something about this. You could be charging half as much or making twice as much. It's your choice. But you have to leave the fucking system, because simply the DOJ splitting up Live Nation and Ticketmaster will do nothing ultimately, because exclusivity is the name of the game. Live Nation doesn't need to own all the venues. As a matter of fact, it's probably a bit of a pain in the ass for them. They'd rather Ticketmaster go, use us or you can't have us, because now, like Just for Laughs, they can be locked into a 98 to 2% deal on that exclusivity, or you don't get Taylor Swift, or you don't get Ice Cube, or you don't get whoever the fuck you want to put in there. It's a complete monopoly. It's not even close. It is one of the most monopolistic businesses in the game. And you know that because one of them exists not to make money, but to destroy every other promoter in the game to make the other entity money. This goes in and destroys things. Live Nation goes in and disrupts. And Ticketmaster profits. No one will be able to stand up against it. There is nothing to do. What are you going to go buy a fucking arena? You gonna go buy a fucking 900-seat venue? If you own a field in the country near a major city, stop farming. Put a stage in a parking lot and put something to fight back. If you have a big fucking warehouse that you don't know what to do with, put some fucking chairs in and about $5,000 worth of speakers and hold a fucking concert. It's time to fight back. Why don't you enjoy concerts anymore? Why can you not, if you could even afford to get in the door, not enjoy it like you used to? Not get to the stage. Not get to jump off of a thing or have a good time. Why does everything feel like you're being funneled into 10 square feet that you're allowed to be with other people in your economic bracket? Why do all the worst people get to be in the best positions at all of these things? It's because we're doing nothing about it. And as long as people aren't fighting back on a much larger level, there's nothing we can do. We need the artists. Louis did it. It is possible. They can't call all of you rapists. It's not going to work. At some point, they will have to bow back down to this. They just will. So if you're an artist, if you go, I'd like to make a little bit more, or maybe you actually have a heart, and you look at the ticket prices that your fans are being charged, and you actually feel a twinge of bad about that, there's something you can do. You're not fucking helpless. It just takes a little work until it doesn't. Fuck Live Nation. Good night.